My background is a whitewater kayaker, slalom and whitewater. I represented Australia and in World Cups, World Championships overseas. So I'm on the river, or I used to be on the river pretty well 6 days a week. Now I'm on the river only when it's in flood. I'm sort of like a big water paddler now. So I've know the river around Warrandyte, Toowoomba Park like the back of my hand. So I just wanted to give a different perspective on the river that people probably don't think about when they look at something angelic like this. Since, I guess, COVID times, we've had quite a lot of wet weather. And because of that, we've had a lot of trees falling down, which has created a lot of snags and probably blocked a lot of the direct waterways for people who are using the river recreationally. Also, what we don't see under the water is a lot of rubbish that has been dumped there over the years. So when white settlers came in here all those years ago, and the mining, Warrandyte looked a whole lot different. A lot of the trees, vegetation were wiped away for using for industry, and the riverbanks were quite bare. So a lot of people were able to throw a lot of building products, for example, bottles, fencing, corrugated iron, there's cars, bits of cars. I've pulled out 2 motorbikes, my brother's pulled out a pistol, a safe. You'd be amazed with what's under there. So when the river does flood, it brings down all these trees. We have what's called a sieve, when water can pass through the branches of the trees, but when we get caught up in them, we can, it causes us some problems. So we've got sieves, we've got trees like this that are all the way across the river, and they're essentially pretty big hazards to people who aren't used to paddling on a river or floating down on a river or swimming. So this is one of the issues that I see for river safety in and around Warrandyte at the moment. Since relaxation of COVID, Warrandyte's pretty well been found. Any beautiful day we see down here, you can't get a car park. The same thing has happened on the river. We've had, from what I've seen, a big burst in people using the water recreationally. When I get on the water, even though I've got a whole lot of experience, I've always got a life jacket and a helmet. Anyone that I know who paddles recreationally does the same thing. We can swim, we know the river, but unfortunately we've got to a stage where we've got a lot of people who are getting inflatable toys made for pools. They come down onto the river and they get stuck up on snags like this. The inflatable toys get ripped. Here's a pipe that's just behind the bakery in Warrandyte that's only in the last couple of years. I'm not sure where it's come from, whether it's been eroded from the bank or someone's rolled it up. But, you put your foot in there and you're in a bit of trouble. River hydraulics. This is what I'd like to... This looks like an angelic sort of bit of river. I like to talk about water that's stable or predictable, just to dumb it down, and unpredictable. Predictable water is something where if you go into a body of water like a swimming pool or a dam, you can swim in it. Predictable water is usually something like in an eddy line like this where it's not moving. Where people are getting into trouble swimming is when they come down here, and when this predictable water meets the unpredictable water, we're getting like a boil and whirlpools and that sort of stuff. And if you're not an experienced swimmer, those conditions, even though they don't look terrible there, have the opportunity to drag you around, turn you sideways, flip around. There's a whirlpool and all that sort of stuff there. You can see the sort of predictable water here, the unpredictable water there, predictable water up there. A lot of people are swimming in the river without personal flotation devices and thinking that that's not much of an issue, but yeah, it can have dire consequences if you're not experienced. Here are some people having fun in the tunnel. These guys, this was taken a long time ago. The river's up really high here. You can see this is the end of the tunnel. Here's a couple of blokes floating down. No personal flotation device, no helmets, no shoes. Since, I'm not sure, last 10 years, every Australia Day I've seen flotillas of people coming down. They're usually uni students. They start at Everard Drive or Truno Avenue. They go around the tunnel, just like this. They've got an esky or two. Some of them have got big boom box. Once again, you'll have 60 of them in a pack. Sometimes I've counted. No personal devices, flotation, no helmets, drinking beer, having fun. It's really good. A trip around the tunnel can take 5 to 6 hours in one of these. And as the rangers can attest to, they frequently get people coming up there with sunstroke, sunburn, cut feet, saying that we don't know where we are, we're lost, can you help us out? So this is a bit of an issue that happens regularly in the summer. Here's someone in Warrandyte that got rescued. They were on a personal flotation device as well. 2 people on $1 each. It's unbelievable the risks that people are prepared to take, I think, in the river. And this was a few years ago. It wasn't the fault of these ladies. They were local ladies. Another tree that was across the river blocked their path. They couldn't get out in time, and they ended up in it. So I went around to some of the local water holes because I hadn't really looked closely at signage and that sort of stuff, but all the accessible water holes, accessible I mean by having car parks that people can easily access, all of them have got signs warning you of the dangers. And still you see people taking risks. So after that tragedy at Osborne Road, I was paddling down with my son. I had no idea what had happened earlier on in the day. And we were paddling down to my place, and I noticed just behind the pub there was a group of 15 people. They were new Australians. They were having a ball. They were all in the shallows, right beside this sign here. And there was 4 ladies up to their waists with a pool noodle, and one of them slipped off the edge of the bank. Well, it was the river bank, but it's dropped off sharply. She dragged the other one underneath with her, and they both disappeared. And just bang, gone. And because of the tannin in the water, you can't see where the person is. Luckily, they scrambled, they grabbed hold of the noodle, got themselves dragged back up, and they just had a few coughs and a laugh, and everyone laughed, and then they all kept swimming. So even though, I guess, people don't understand, this is actually where it happened, right here. There's a sign. They were just sitting, paddling around here. They disappeared underwater right in front of me. So I'm not sure what has to happen with signage or education or anything like that, but I see people take risks regularly on the river, even though that there's signs, and that looks like a nice place to swim. But it's so hard to tell sometimes. Anyway, that's all I've got to say about the river.